powerful hook, first 10 to 15 seconds. Have you ever seen children who never speak suddenly burst into laughter because of one man no one expected? Before this story begins, subscribe now, because stories like this remind us that love doesn't always come through words. Sometimes it comes through hands, silence, and a heart brave enough to be seen. Title: CEO seeks nanny for her silent triplets. Shocked a single dad's sign language makes them laugh. Chapter 1. The silence money couldn't fix. Evelyn Carter had built an empire out of silence. Boardrooms fell quiet when she entered, investors listened when she spoke, and headlines followed her every move. As the youngest female CEO of a global biotech firm headquartered in New York, she was known for precision, control, and emotional distance. Yet every night, when the penthouse lights dimmed and the city hummed below, Evelyn returned to a silence that terrified her far more than any hostile takeover. The silence of her triplets. Noah, Liam, and Sophie were 6 years old, beautiful, intelligent, and completely mute. Doctors had ruled out physical causes, therapists blamed trauma, specialists used words like selective mutism, psychological shutdown, and complex grief. None of them mentioned the guilt Evelyn carried, the guilt of not being there when their father died in a car accident she'd sent him rushing into during a late-night argument about work. Since then, the children had not spoken a single word. Nannies came and went. British au pairs with perfect accents, American child psychologists with glowing resumes, even a celebrity whisper therapist flown in from California. Nothing worked. The children communicated only with each other, using small gestures and glances, their world sealed tight. When the latest nanny quit, after Sophie screamed silently for 3 hours straight, Evelyn did something she'd never done before. She wrote the job listing herself. She didn't ask for degrees or certifications. She wrote one line that surprised even her: "Must be patient with silence." Miles Harper read the listing on his cracked phone while sitting on a park bench in Queens, his 4-year-old daughter asleep against his chest. He was a single dad, a widower, working nights as a school janitor. His wife had been deaf, and through loving her, Miles had learned American Sign Language fluently. His daughter, Lily, was hearing, but sign language was the first language she ever knew. When Miles read the word silent children, something in his chest tightened. He hadn't planned on applying. CEOs didn't hire men like him, but he applied anyway, attaching no fancy resume, just a short note: "I understand silence. Sometimes it speaks louder than words." Evelyn almost deleted his application. No credentials, no references beyond a school principal. A man applying to be a nanny for 3 children in a billionaire's home raised every red flag. But something about that sentence lingered. Against her instincts, she scheduled an interview. The day Miles arrived at the penthouse, dressed neatly but plainly, Evelyn's skepticism hardened. She expected awkwardness. Instead, Miles knelt down at eye level with the triplets, smiled gently, and raised his hands. His fingers moved slowly, playfully. Noah's eyes widened. Liam leaned forward. Sophie tilted her head. Then something miraculous happened. Sophie laughed, a real laugh. Bright, uncontrollable. Noah followed. Then Liam. Evelyn froze. In 6 years she had never heard that sound. Chapter 2. The Man Who Spoke Without a Voice. Evelyn hired Miles on the spot, telling herself it was temporary, experimental, rational. But nothing about Miles Harper fit into her rational world. He didn't push the children to speak. He didn't ask questions. He signed stories with exaggerated expressions, turning his hands into animals, heroes, and silly monsters. The triplets followed him everywhere, their laughter echoing through hallways that once felt like a museum. Evelyn watched from a distance, conflicted. She felt replaced and relieved. For the first time since her husband's death, her home felt alive. Miles learned quickly that the triplets weren't broken. They were guarding themselves. At night, he signed with them about feelings, about fear, about missing someone. He never used the word father. But somehow they understood. Sophie began signing back. Then Noah, then Liam. Slowly, their silence became a language Evelyn didn't speak, and that terrified her. As weeks passed, tabloids began circling. a mysterious male nanny, children laughing, a CEO softening. Evelyn's board warned her, optics mattered. Investors didn't like unpredictability. Miles, sensing tension, prepared to leave quietly, unwilling to disrupt the fragile peace he'd helped create. But when Evelyn finally tried to let him go, the triplets refused to eat, refused to sleep, refused to even look at her. Sophie signed one word that shattered Evelyn completely: stay. The real twist came when Evelyn learned the truth about Miles. He hadn't just learned sign language for his wife. He'd once been on track to become a child psychologist, specializing in trauma, before life collapsed around him. He had chosen janitorial work because it allowed him to be present for his daughter. He had sacrificed ambition for love, something Evelyn had never done. One night, during a blackout that plunged the city into darkness, Evelyn and Miles sat together in candlelight while the children slept peacefully nearby. For the first time, Evelyn spoke honestly, not as a CEO, but as a mother drowning in regret. Miles listened. He didn't fix her. He didn't advise. He simply understood. And in that silence, something deep and dangerous began to grow between them. Chapter 3, when voices finally return. The children spoke their first words on a rainy morning, not in a therapy session, not in front of doctors. Sophie whispered "Mama" while signing it at the same time. Evelyn collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Noah followed, Liam last. The silence broke, not violently but gently, like ice melting. The world celebrated. Headlines praised Evelyn's strength, her perseverance. No one mentioned Miles. The board demanded Miles' dismissal. A scandal brewed. Evelyn was forced to choose between image and truth. In the biggest move of her career, she stepped down as CEO, shocking Wall Street. She chose her children. She chose love. She chose silence over noise. Months later, in a modest home filled with laughter, Miles signed a story while Lily and the triplets interrupted him with words, signs, and giggles. Evelyn watched, no longer afraid of quiet moments, because she had learned that silence wasn't emptiness. It was where real connection lived. And sometimes, the loudest love story is the one told without a single word. Ending CTA for YouTube, audio. If this story touched your heart, subscribe now, because the world is loud, but the stories that change us are often whispered.